Star Trek Strange New World, Season 2, Episode 2, Ad Astra Per Aspera. There's a lot of things I can say about this episode, and most of them are positive. I absolutely enjoyed this show. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was a nice court trial. I mean, just basically the way they presented it, it felt more like a legal drama. And it really had things in it that I just totally appreciated. This episode brought out information that we did not know about Unich and Riley. It also showed how Captain Pike would go to extreme lengths to help his number one, a person that he respected and trusted. This show, this season, this episode, excuse me, really I had a lot of fun with, and I want to talk to you a little bit about it. In some ways, it reminded me of a 1990s show, JAG, Judd Advocate General's Court. It gave me the feeling of that. You had your defense, you had your prosecutors, the judges. It really did make me feel more like a naval court martial than it did anything else. But it was done nicely. Starfleet offers Una a choice, or rather a plea deal. Pretty much they tell her, admit to falsifying records, admit to lying to us about your genetic modifications and hiding who you are, an Elorian, and we will give you a dishonorable discharge, and there'll be no time served. You will be able to maintain your time in the Federation, but your records will be sealed up. She's told by her appointed attorney that it's a great deal. They're not going to get a better offer and they should accept it. And she's also informed that it's a fair deal, but we'll give you time to talk about it with your lawyer. And she replies, how can I talk to him about it when he works for you? Valid point. How can I get honest legal advice from someone whose whole interest in all this is just to be a state representative?
I have traveled to the Volterra Nebula to find legal help for my first officer. The atmosphere here is not suitable for human life.
Pike is willing to sacrifice his own life to help Una, spending it on this planet trying to get a legal counselor by the name of Nira. Apparently, her and Una have a history together, mostly about Una. At least Nira feels that Una has rejected her heritage, being an Elorian, and Nira just basically never forgave her for it, and she feels that Una running off the Starfleet was the ultimate sin, considering Starfleet has just flat out rejected anyone with genetic modifications. Pike has pretty much sacrificed his life, or is attempting to sacrifice his life to help her. He's in an atmosphere that is just not friendly to anyone except Elorians, thanks to the genetic modifications. And his oxygen tank pretty much runs out before Nira's secretary runs to get him some help. She may not like Una, but at the same time, she has kept an eye on the case and told Pike that she's lucky that Una is not facing charges for sedition. I mean, this is ridiculous, this case. But Pike informs her that you should take the case because it's not really about Una. It's about the Federation. You've had at least 10 cases in the past 2 years that have been disqualified for lack of evidence. And this case right here could probably give you the one thing you want, a victory over the Federation. No surprise, she takes the case. With the plea deal rejected, Starfleet comes back at her with something so brutal. Two additional counts of sedition, rejection, being kicked out of Starfleet, excuse me, and 20 years in a Federation penal colony. They have a bug for her, people. Naturally, Una's blown away by it. 20 years for lying on an application? And her attorney says, this is not about you anymore. They are going to make an example out of you. Now, La Noonien Singh here has an issue with the whole thing. She believes that she may have accidentally outed Una, but it turns out that that's not really the case here. But at the same time, a lot of questions are asked as to why they're going after Una for genetic modifications when we have the genetic blood relative of a warlord from the eugenics wars on board the Enterprise and in Starfleet. As silly as this may sound, Pike wants to know why he wasn't on the witness list and is informed that he could be charged with sedition because he knew as the captain of the ship that Una was Illyrian and it was illegal and he would be harboring someone who's breaking the law in the Federation. Sedition? Seriously? This is just insane, but it's what it is. I mean, I guess I can understand it given the eugenics wars and how paranoid everyone must be about that. But again, I still ask the question, if everyone is so concerned about genetic modifications, how did a relative of Khan get on board or get into Starfleet? Now, this scene right here, in all seriousness, if they would have cut it completely from the episode, it wouldn't take away from it at all. Erica and Dr. Mabanga are having a conversation, or rather, they're witnessing Spock and a fellow Vulcan, the head prosecutor for Starfleet, having a conversation. Erica is making fun of Spock, and Dr. Mabanga just says, "Well, that's funny." It's just you can tell that there is some serious tension between the two of them.
I regret that you had to witness that outburst.
We won't say a word.
Thank you, Doctor. Of all of my father's former colleagues, Basalt truly brings out the worst in me.
The courtroom scene, I just enjoyed it very much. I think it was well done. And the defense attorney, Nira, she played this so well. I really enjoyed this. Making the argument that in an attempt to protect themselves from the eugenics wars, the Federation has continued a draconian practice of persecution, whether they know it or not. And it was an interesting argument that she made. Racism, slavery, these were all laws that became outlawed because they realized they were unjust and immoral. And this is the same argument that she is making here. Former captain of the USS Enterprise and now Admiral April, is put on the stand basically because he sponsored Una's application into the Federation, but has come out and admitted that if he had known she was Illyrian, he would not have done so because it is a violation of Federation code. She confronts the Admiral on judgment calls he's made as captain of the Enterprise. Multiple times he's violated the Prime Directive and several other codes inside the Federation and in Starfleet. And he basically tells her that those are judgment calls that a captain has to make in the split-second decision, but that has absolutely nothing to do with what's going on with Una. Una violated the law, broke the law in his eyes. He still holds a lot of respect for the woman, has high regard for her, but just was put under so much pressure and grilled by Una's own attorney. Una wants to know why she attacked her friend, her mentor, and basically it turns out that this is becoming a perfect platform, a perfect place to rip Starfleet apart and use it as a way of rising up their cause, their quest for equality. And Una is just not down with that. You're not here to help me. You're here to promote your movement. with various witnesses on the stand. Each one defends her character and says that she was an exceptional officer, and Starfleet would be seriously hurt if she was kicked out. They would even go as far as to ask these officers, was she hiding anything? Did you sense anything that she was hiding?
I did get the sense that she was hiding something. Affinity for Gilbert and Sullivan musicals.
Eventually, Una takes the stand, and we learn the title of this episode, Ad Astra Per Aspera, to the stars through hardship. And boy, does she have a story to tell. To break it down as short as I can, a year before she was born, her planet was admitted into the Federation, and anyone with augmentations would be arrested. Now, considering that her species, her race, augmentations are a part of their history. It's just who they are. I guess it's kind of like breathing. So anyone, again, caught being with augmentations would be arrested, and they really didn't take it that seriously until one day her friend, she was about 10 years old, and her friend was 10 years old, or rather her friend's cousin. Apparently, some of the children or some of the people on her planet, their stomachs glow, and his did. And they found out that the boy was augmented. So eventually he was arrested, 10 years old, arrested, and his family was taken into custody too. They, the Elorians would be persecuted, they'd be harassed, name callings, all sorts of bigotry. But through all of that, she knew that heading for Starfleet, going to the Federation, not because of fear, but because it's just something she aspired to do. She wanted to be better and maybe some way along the line make herself better and help her people along the way. But it didn't work out that way. She wound up getting arrested, and believe it or not, the reason she got arrested was because she turned herself in, because she couldn't handle the guilt of hiding who she was anymore. And she felt like she had to come clean on this. Now, the one thing that divided these two apart is a law. Apparently, the violence on the planet got so out of control that the Federation decided to split the cities into two separate non-Elorian and Elorian. And Una described it as anyone who could pretty much hide and blend in with the nons would go over with the non-Elorians, and she and her family were one of them, leaving Nanya there behind. And they never forgave each other for that betrayal. A little later on, it's revealed that Captain Pike knew about Una, and in the closing statement, the prosecutor makes absolutely has no problems with bringing out that fact, and the fact that court-martial will bring down one of Starfleet's most honorable captains, meaning Pike, of course. He also is recommending that the charges be implemented fully because she's toxic to Starfleet and she violated the law. It doesn't matter what her background was, she knowingly broke the law and she should be prosecuted. Nira grabs a Starfleet Code of Conduct rule book and asks the prosecutor Battelle if she was familiar with the Starfleet Code 8514. And it basically reads, in extraordinary and extreme circumstances, if the following circumstances are met. 1. Any person fleeing persecution or fearing for the life due to political or religious belief, cultural engagements, or bigotry, biological truth, may 2. Seek safety within Starfleet, and 3. Upon revealing themselves to authorities and making requests, may be granted asylum. Starfleet captains must exercise direction, and judgment when offering asylum status if confirmed by Starfleet tribunes or designated authorities. Una met all those requirements. She fled persecution. She sought asylum within Starfleet, and she did reveal herself to Captain Pike. Asylum is granted, and she is able to return to her duties on the Enterprise. It was also an eye-opening experience for Nira as well. Getting off her high horse and off her platform and seeing that not everyone in the Federation is so filled with bigotry and hatred. As I said at the beginning of this episode was really enjoyable for me. I enjoyed listening to all the legalisms in this episode. It was a nice story, and I really enjoyed it. Well, I'd like to hear your thoughts and comments on this. You tell me what you think about this. Did you like this? Didn't you? Or did you not? Please let me know what you think. Drop your comments below and let me know. And until the next time, my friends, God bless.